Good morning, everybody. I'm Ruben Guerrero, and today's topic is impact of instructor/coach's expectations. First and foremost, when it comes to coaching, you always kind of want to set a standard, so it's expectations for yourself. I call it awareness of self. Standards or philosophy. What is your standards? What is your discipline? What do you do? What do you live by when it comes to yourself? So when you present to your students, they have somebody to follow, because technically you're a leader of young men and women. Your morals and principles, you practice what you preach. That's when I was coaching, my biggest thing was, and I would tell my coaching staff, there's no way in the world you could tell you're a student athlete to be here on time when you're constantly late. I always say, lost my train of thought. I always say, it's hard to take you serious when you don't take yourself serious. Your vocabulary. Are you well-rounded? Are you short-sighted? What I mean is, are you versed in the sport that you're coaching? Or do you just kind of babble on and really don't feel like, or really don't seem like you know what you're talking about? That's how coaches lose their players very quickly. Accountability. How do you hold yourself accountable? Humility. Are there times that you screw up? Because there will be times that you make a wrong call or a bad call. Do you take responsibility for that, or do you blame your players? One of the biggest thing I think is you have the ability to tell yourself or tell your players, that's on me, I screwed up. I think that creates a bond between your players and also gains respect. Forming expectations. Personal cues, socioeconomic status, family, background, and physique. What that means is the type of family that you're going to be dealing with. Are there going to be the family members that are constantly on you as a coach, whether it's why didn't Johnny play or why didn't Johnny get the ball? Their background, is he a good student or is she a good student? Physique, do they need to get in the weight room, or are they a big kid but mentally they're not there yet? Performance information, previous performance accomplishments, coaches or former coaches' observations. What that means is, when you go back to talk to your coaches about certain athletes, that's how you kind of form certain expectations because of what they see or what they observe. Or you can go to like our AAU or club coach and talk to them about what kind of player they are, because you're going to be receiving them soon. Kind of gives you an expectation or know what to expect from the student athlete. Psychological characteristics, coachability, discipline, love of sport. I don't know if this is there, but love of the sport. Are they easy to coach? When you coach and give directions, do they respond? Are they disciplined? Do they love the sport? That means when you blow the whistle when it's time for practice, are they laying on the side somewhere with their shoes off, or you're having to wait for them to lace up their shoes? Coach Gino Ariami. He's a well-respected coach at the women's college level. Usually when it comes to championships, UConn is usually mentioned in that conversation. Whether they win or not, they're always there. His perspective on student athletes he really goes deep on a lot of little issues that come up. A lot of it has to do with parents. A lot of it has to do with what the new generation is starting to consider what is important. Coaches look for certain things, and they have to kind of change with the times. Here's a brief video on him and his perspective.
Probably did escape, and then we'll make it so we can get that inactivated.
On Prime Video this Thursday, the Titans, the Packers, Derrick Henry, Aaron Rodgers, two must-watch players in a must-watch matchup. Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Prime Video.
I did.
Kids inherently want to be good teammates. I really believe that. Most kids, when they're on a team, I guarantee you go watch them 7-year-olds or 8-year-olds. They want to be good teammates. You watch them play. When they get a little bit older and they start having a little more success, and then the parents get involved, they become not so great teammates. Because they're told a lot of times that you're not going to get anywhere unless you shine, unless you know. So now, back in the day, we had AA youth tournaments. You had to win X number of games to qualify for the national championship. And you played on your team, and you had to live in your state or whatever, your area to play. And you played, and if you lost, you went home, and it was devastating. And that's Rebecca and Jamel Elliott and Jen Rosati and Keisha Sales, going, Megan Patterson, as far back as them. Well, that's changed. Now when kids go to these tournaments, they're not going there to win games. They're going there so that the coach can see them exhibit their skills. So this idea of winning for the weekend doesn't exist anymore. So it's not their fault. That's just the way it is. And I try when we go recruiting to identify those kids who still have a tremendous interest in being great teammates. It's not always successful. Believe me, I've had my share of guys that are really hard to coach for that reason. And you can trace it back generally to the parents. Without question, you can trace it back to the parents.
Influence of actions. The higher the expectation, the more time a coach spends with an athlete, developing closer ties and deeper relationships. A lot of times you have expectations and there's a high expectation. You see a lot of potential in a certain athlete. You really invest a lot of time into their development. And a lot of times that creates a bond with that player and that coach. Instruction and praise is different. Technically, a lot of players will say that's favoritism, but at the same time, it's just a bond and relationship that's different from some of the other teammates. There's times that they might do something great on the court, and all it takes is just an eye or even just one of these or something like that, and they understand what you're talking about. That's not showing up here. Behavior affects performance. Athlete expectation from a coach that performs well or poorly. This might confirm coach's prediction. That says a lot right there. When you have a player and your expectation is either negative or positive, in time that usually they prove you right or wrong. Sometimes when they prove you right, that could be a negative, or even if they prove you right, that could be a positive or negative, which means that if your expectation of a certain player is not that high and they exceed it, that proves you wrong. So there's always a twist to that. Coach's behavior looms large in success or failure. Coach's behavior, that's pretty big. There's times that, I don't know if you guys ever noticed, there might be coaches on the sideline in a basketball game, soccer game, whatever it is, and they berate their players in front of an audience or parents or even their teammates. To me, that's always the biggest no-no you could. It's happened to me. I never liked it, and I don't do that to any of my players. So if they do something incorrect, it's one-on-one. It's not for the whole world to see. Last thing you want to do is embarrass a player, and also you're embarrassing yourself as an adult. Common coaching expectations. This is very general, especially for a coach, especially for a young coach. You have a certain foundation, and the foundation is usually pretty simple, pretty easy. You start off with the common coaching expectation. You show up on time, treat others with respect, work hard, have the we before me sort of attitude. Coach Pat Summit, she was the head Tennessee coach since 1974 to about 2012, I believe. She passed away in 2016. Her resume is pretty notable. 8 times NCAA champion, 8 times NCAA Final Four. She had a team there. 16 times SEC tournament champs, at 16 times SEC conference champs. She had a winning percentage of .841. I believe that's a record for men or women in college sports. Her quote that stood out to me was the willingness to experiment with change may be the most essential ingredient to success at anything. Now we have Coach Bill Belichick for the New England Patriots football team. He's been to the Super Bowl 9 times, won 6. That's a hell of a record for any NFL coach. I think he's been with the Patriots for about 20 years. His quote that stood out to me was, for a team to accomplish their goal, everybody's got to give up a little bit of individuality. Now we have Sir Alex Ferguson, Manchester United's most prestigious football manager. It's kind of small. In 26 years, he's won 28 trophies, 13 Premier League championships, and that's a big deal. His quote that stood out to me was, once you bid farewell to discipline, you say goodbye to success. Each one of these coaches all have a certain kind of mentality, which means that when you give up something, you lose something when it comes to a team atmosphere. So they're basically saying, when you're on the team, you have to conform to the culture of the team. Potential problems. Certain problems may arise. Your program, your coaching style is not for everybody. Some are not easily motivated by you. Some will look at you and kind of roll their eyes at you. Some are just not there just for the spark. They might be there because their parents are pushing them, or they're there because their friends are on the team. Your coaching style is not for everybody, and that's one thing you have to really determine. I'm gonna stick with this, and once you start kind of trying to make everybody happy, that's when everything kind of goes south. Personality clash. There will be times that an athlete and coach will not be on the same page. The goal is still the same. Just getting there might not be agreeable. So that's another potential problem. Not desirable outcomes. Losing, obviously. Injuries, sometimes that just puts you in a different category. Your team is not competitive because you're starting to lose players. Academic performance, you lose players because they're ineligible. Home and peer group influences. You might have family members at home of your student athlete, or even their friends away from the team that are talking negatively about your coaching style or even the team itself. Coaching decisions. Sometimes you just have to cut a player, and that's just all there is to it. You always hear this out in the chat where you hear he's a cancer on the team. What do you do with cancers? You cut them out. That's just part of the process. You're not able to save everyone. That's one thing you have to get over. You know, there's times that you might have 10, 12 players on the team, and you might have that one bad apple, and you want to do everything you can for them, but it drags away from your coaching and also drags away from your team as well. Assess coaching success forms expectations. The way to assess, there's performance markers, points per game, rebounds per game, turnovers. Usually there's a team average. If you're able to go, like to say points per game, you're only scoring 50, when you score 55, that's a win. Rebounds, you're only averaging, let's say 20 a game, and then you get 25 or 30, that's a win, regardless of the outcome of the game. Turnovers, if you have a high turnover rate and you bring it down, let's say it's 10 per game, and you bring it down to, I don't know, let's say 6, that's a win, all right? So you have to look at certain things like that when it comes to coaching. Team success. Overall team attitude, team camaraderie, winning games, winning record. Does your team like each other? Are they having fun? When they lose games, is it still a good feeling? There's some teams that are just down in the dumps. There's times that you lose, but in reality, sometimes it's a win. So you have to take those as a marker for yourself. Winning games, are you winning? Do you have a winning record at the moment? Level of coachability, response to coaching, response to team philosophy. Has the team bought in? When it comes to coachability, when you speak, are they listening? When you're in a team huddle and you're talking to team, are all eyes on you? That makes a difference. That says a lot about your team and the respect level. Time, players' appreciation, long-term participation in sports, return to coaching. Do players respond to you? A lot of times, when you're in the season, you won't see certain appreciation until years later. Sometimes a decade later. I've had players reach out to me just out of nowhere, happy birthday, or hey coach, can I take you out to lunch? To me, that says a lot about what was going on during their season and their year, and especially when they show their appreciation later on in life. Long-term appreciation for the sport. Are they playing outside, away from whatever level you're at? Or did they move on to the college level? Are they playing in adult leagues? Are they playing in intramurals? Do they call you and say, Coach, I want to get back in coaching, let me help you out? That shows the appreciation and the love for the game, and also the respect level, because they want to come back and learn how to coach through you. So, I mean, when it comes to some of the expectations, like I got stories and stories and stories and stories, but I don't want to fill that up. Or I think this has kind of been a train wreck so far. But other than that, this is my presentation for today. Here's my references, which you can't see.